Hello, welcome back to First Thoughts. I'm Simon, this is Justin, and today we're giving our first, second, fourth, skip third, fifth, all of the thoughts on Until Dawn, which was directed by David F. Sandberg, who's most known for the classic I Flip You Off for 4 Hours from 2020, where he set up a camera and flipped off the camera for 4 hours.
I didn't know about that.
He also...
That's great.
He also directed Lights Out, the Shazam movies, and Annabelle Creation.
Oh, he directed the Shazam movies?
Yeah,
I like
unfortunately.
I like the first one. I didn't see the second one, but I like the first one.
Well, that was a movie.
I never played the video game, but my understanding is there is no correlation
Oh, I thought you
between...
had played the game.
I did not. I years ago watched like PewDiePie play it, but I did not play it. As this Reddit user says, Until Dawn completely ignores the game it's based on.
Nice.
So the game, do you know anything about the game?
I assume they have to survive until dawn.
Yeah, so my understanding of the game, from what I remember, the basic plot was that a group of teenagers go on vacation to, I believe, like a ski resort or something like that, and then they are chased and have to make it until dawn and survive as they're being chased. It was one of the earlier, more successful games that every decision you make affects the plot of the game. It was one of those, and it was very, very popular, very successful. This movie, if you haven't seen the trailer for it, don't know what it's about, is a group of kids, or, well, young adults, go into the woods looking for one of the characters' missing sister and get to this random house. And once they go into the house, they are doomed to a Groundhog Day horror movie a la Happy Death Day, where they have to try to survive the night, and if they don't, they just keep repeating it, getting, killed over and over and over again in more and more fun ways. But also, they can't just survive the night, because it gets super convoluted on the rules. There's more rules than just that, but we'll save that for spoilers. This movie is the epitome of stupidity, but it does have fun moments. What did you think about it, Justin?
So I have to say, for at least the beginning parts, probably the most actual horror I felt from a horror film in a little while. Now, again, I don't see a lot of horror films. I have not seen the masterpieces or much since we've been reviewing movies. Or since before, I guess.
Weirdly hasn't been a lot of like actual horror movies that have come out since we started reviewing movies, but yeah.
But that was up until they started to really explain the background behind things. That killed all the fear, all the
tension. Cut it.
Also, I gotta say, I expected more variety, and there was a decent amount of variety. But for how long they were in this, not going to say exactly, but for how long they were in this, there's a lot of repeats with the monsters.
Yeah, it is interesting. I will say, like, to your point about it, once you realize what's going on, you kind of lose the excitement, and it is reminiscent of Happy Death Day, where in that movie, it is like a horror comedy that it stops being horrifying after a while, because once she realizes, oh, well, I can't die. Dying doesn't matter anymore. So she goes like, full Rambo and goes after the killer instead, trying to solve the crime and figure out the mystery and all that stuff. And in this, granted, there is a deeper level to it than this, but it's like, well, if you can't die, the deaths don't mean anything other than just like, ooh, how are they gonna do it this time? So yeah, I frankly got fairly bored. I forget exactly how long the movie was, but I'll say this is like the longest hour and a half of my life. It got very boring fairly quick. There was some anxiety-inducing moments, I'll admit, early on, but like you said, it kind of drops off pretty quick.
Yeah.
There's also some hilariously awful visuals that they throw in there that will make you just laugh hysterically rather than be scared.
Some of the deaths are incredible. They are truly inspired.
Well, that too. I wasn't even... I was like... Because that's intentionally, I think, funny in a way. There's some stuff that was unintentionally funny as well.
And I'm here for all of that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty bad all around. From, the writing's bad, the acting isn't great, the directing is forgettable. I mean, there's nothing really good about this movie, I think the most interesting thing about it that you kind of started to touch on is they take the opportunity to, since there's so many different ways to die, they kind of use it as a variety pack for horror, where they kind of switch between the various genres. But the thing is, they don't do it well enough that I care. It's like it's a cool concept, but they just don't execute it in a way that's impactful or interesting. I think for the first couple it was.
Because it was all fresh, and then it's just, okay, let's toss them at the same time now, or let's have them over here. It's the same creature this way, and let's just never talk about that one off in that distance.
Yeah, that's the thing that I was saying was hilarious. It was. I thought I was watching a TikTok. There was actually a good portion of this movie that felt like it was TikTok entertainment. Then again, maybe it was the TikToks that were being shown on the phones of the people in front of us. Then I was watching those. Maybe I got distracted a little bit. They certainly weren't watching the movie. Oh, God.
Great crowd.
Like, why go to a movie? Why?
It's
What's
a
the
social
point?
activity.
It's not. It is not a social. I mean, in the loosest term it is, because you were connecting with the other people, all laughing or groaning or jumping at the same thing you are. But in the same way, a sporting event is a social activity. If you're doing something other than watching the football game, get the hell out.
Listen. They were sitting male, female, male, female. It seemed like
boy, girl.
Yeah, it seemed like a multi-date situation. I saw some people, some groups of two, toss up the little divider, get a little close together.
I saw some blankets.
There were a lot of blankets. They got real cozy.
Regal sells blankets. That's hilarious. That's a dangerous practice you got going on there.
That's very interesting. But honestly, it's one of those things like, if people would buy it, like, why haven't you been selling it this whole time?
Yeah.
The merchandise is the craziest thing. Seeing them all have the little popcorn bowls now. Everyone's got at least a small section of merchandise, and it's just like 6 months ago, nobody had any of this shit.
Yeah.
It's like Dune. Maybe before Dune
and then Deadpool. It's weird because like this seems like it's a fun time, stupid, waste your time laughing at a dumb movie kind of thing, but like, I just got bored by the end of it. I don't think it's even really that. And part of it was the crowd was annoying, but they did shut up eventually.
Yeah.
After people complained. Several people. I wasn't the only one. Several people did. That's the first time I've ever complained at a movie theater. The first time ever. I hate doing that.
Other people walked out there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because you were the only person I saw.
Yeah, no, I was joined by like two other people. We all went, help! Please, we cannot hear anything. This lady is screaming the entire time, not out of fear.
I don't know what she was getting sent, but it was destroying her.
I wanted to destroy her face and her phone. I was contemplating how much trouble would I get in for breaking somebody's phone, and the answer was too much, so I didn't do anything. Just like the killer grabbed the one person and threw them against the wall. That's what I wanted to do to their phone.
That was pretty great. That was a good one. See, there were some moments, especially towards the beginning, where
before you knew how boring and repetitive it was all going to be.
Really explaining
and convoluted.
It was.
They went full Shyamalan, which I guess was part of their genre thing that they were going through, but it went full Shyamalan.
It just is yet another explanation for the supernatural that falls pretty flat.
It's not an explanation. It's really not.
It's an attempt at some explanation of the supernatural by tossing in more supernatural stuff that doesn't need to be explained.
Yeah.
Well, it should be explained, but not gonna be.
But it's not gonna be. It's so dumb, and like the meta shit can only get you so far because they're so self-referential. They're so like, ha ha ha, aren't we clever? And it's like, no, you're not. They're like, oh, it's just like that one movie. Which one? They've done this a bunch of times. I'm like, yeah. So you're not unique and creative. We get it. Cool. Thanks. Why don't you actually make a movie based on the video game you stole the title from? That would be crazy, right?
But then they gotta just survive one night. We can have them survive multiple nights.
A night is like 8 hours. There's an hour and a half worth of content in 8 hours. You could spread out the deaths a little bit, make it last. I wonder how much of because since I didn't play the video game, I don't know if there were any references to the game or anything, but there was a couple of lines that I felt like that was a reference to a video game, or at least video games as a whole, because they're like, this is going to be the last night we do it, and like, that's what we said last time, and the time before that, and the time before that. It's like, you're like, all right, last try, and you keep playing. I was like, is that a video game reference? I don't know. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but that's what I thought.
I gotta say, I got a little confused at the end by
a little. To say the ending was mildly confusing would be the understatement of the century. It just got more and more convoluted. The more information they gave you, the less it made sense. It was dumb. It was bad. It was no good.
Yeah. It really amazes me how much easier it is to write a beginning of a story than write the ending.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I see way more failures in the ending of a story than the beginning.
That is interesting to me, because I think it comes down to the writer's style, because there's a lot of people come up with a concept and they're like, all right, how do I wrap it up? There are writers, including myself, that actually, I frankly usually come up with the ending first and then work backwards.
And I've heard of that style.
I think that's probably the best way to write, at least for me it is. Because it's like the ending has to be the best part. So if it's a good idea you had to begin with,
it has to be satisfying. And it just seems like so many people they know slightly where they want to go. They don't know how they're going to get there. And then by the end, I've made a character too powerful, or I just I left too many loose ends. I don't feel like wrapping up anymore. Or the author just really hates working on the thing they've worked on for so long now and just wants to end it and puts a rush on it.
Who could you be talking about?
At least the other people I was talking about put a rush on it. Give me something.
Yeah. 4. Giving it a 4.
Damn, I was gonna go 5, but
no, I actively disliked this. Once again, maybe it was the mood, maybe it was the theater, but
the crowd. I can't remember
not the crowd, the row. Everybody else was chill.
Yeah.
I mean, they were involved and loud,
that's
but
fine.
that's fine. I like being involved in a movie.
Yeah, no, the row was crazy, especially since they started in the back and then came down front.
They didn't even start in the back. They showed up late.
That was them showing up late?
Yeah.
I honestly just thought people got annoyed at them in the back, so they moved up front.
No.
And then annoyed us up front.
It was about like 15, 20 minutes. No, it was longer than that. It was night 2. When they come, like, I hear the door just, and then they're like, I'm like, oh my God. And I was like hoping it's somebody outside that's laughing like that, not coming in. No, it's them. And then like, all right, well, once they get in, they're going to be like, oh, shh. No. I mean, 1 or 2 of them is going, shh, and the other one's going like, yo, shh. I'm like, yeah. So no, their experience probably brought it down to a 2 for me. But I think the movie's a 4.
I'm still go 5, but yeah.
I didn't have a good time.
I had an alright time at the beginning, and then
yeah, the first 20 minutes or whatever before they showed up. That part was fun. There was actually some really cool visuals that they completely wasted. Like, really cool visuals in there. Not gonna lie. Some dumb shit, but some really cool ideas. And it's like, why? I don't understand why adapt a video game when all you're doing is taking the title. That's all you're doing.
Because that's all you need.
It's like we went back in time. We had established, like, there had been such a long streak of, like, successfully adapted, like, video games into movies. Like, the Mario, the Sonics, Minecraft to an extent. And it was just, like, and it was like we were on a hot streak. And it was like, oh, okay. The old adage that every single time you adapt a video game into a movie, it sucks. That rule's been broken. Like, we set ourselves back 40 years here to like the old Mario movie when like you would just take the name and that's it. That's how we used to adapt it, and that's why they'd all suck. Whose bright idea was it to say, hey, remember when we used to do that? Let's do that again. Like, it's just, it doesn't make any sense.
Listen, someone clearly had the idea for a Groundhog Day horror movie, monster mashup, Cabin in the Woods style, but instead of just one night, we got multiple nights.
Mm-hmm.
But they thought, how do we, what's the final gimmick we need for that movie? Ooh, I know.
The title.
We need the time frame. They gotta survive until dawn. That's the time.
Except not really. There's more rules than that, but why you can't put that all in the title? You have to survive until dawn and also do XYZ.
See, what people are missing is that you gotta take a magnifying glass or a telescope, all right? And it's right there. It's on the side, but you gotta get real close in there.
Yeah.
All right. And it says
it's also the font color is the same as the background. It's a little translucent even.
It's a slight difference. If you really focus, you can see it, but you gotta get really in there.
If you need glasses at all, you're not gonna see it.
You know what is that painting style? Pointillism, where it's just dots up close and then from afar. Well, somehow we've managed to reverse that.
Oh God, yeah. This movie is bad. It's dumb. It's a waste of time and a waste of a adaptation. It shouldn't exist, and I don't like it.
I feel like if you are fine with whatever gore flick is out there, there are some solid deaths in here, and mostly for funny reasons, but solid to me nonetheless.
Yeah.
And then
I did have fun at times. I did.
Yeah.
I was more bored than fun having, though.
I really feel like it's just because, well, I mean, at a certain point, we clearly rushed through some things we didn't care to see anymore. And there was where all the quote-unquote variety after that was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just never popped up again.
Yeah. It was oddly the best part of the movie. All right, we're going to get into spoilers now. So if you don't want anything spoiled, don't pretend it doesn't exist. Just don't go see it. Why do that to yourself? Yeah, just go on living your life. And then if you ever have the desire to come back, do come back and we can talk about it then. But don't forget to like, share, follow, review, subscribe, all of that. It does help. Thanks, guys. Bye. So, spoilers. Like I said, the best part of this movie,
yes,
the most interesting thing about this movie is they're taking advantage of, I don't know if it's taking advantage of, but they're like, it would be boring if we just had the same deaths every time.
Yeah.
Which I believe in the video game it's zombies. I believe zombies are the thing in the video game, which they lean into the most later in the movie. But in the movie, it starts out with a serial killer guy who's just essentially a Jason ripoff.
Yeah.
And he's pretty boring, but the deaths are fun enough at first. But then, so you go from a slasher to paranormal. I'm probably going to get the order wrong after this because I don't remember. But like zombies at a certain point, monster movie. It's also like they get sick and explode, so it's just kind of like a contagion kind of thing. Like,
that's great. Don't drink the water.
Horror. Yeah, it's so funny because like it's so obvious. He's like, oh, there's no water, and like, well, water, and like, you want some? You want some? You want some? You want? And they all take a sip, and like, so they're all gonna die. But then you don't expect them to explode.
No, I totally, because he starts puking his guts out, and I'm like, see, I knew something was gonna happen. I didn't quite expect it that fast, but I figure everyone's gonna puke their guts out, bleed out the various orifices.
Yeah,
but
orify. I don't know if that's a word.
The orifices of Delphi.
The orphans.
Bleed out the orphans.
But, hate when that happens.
No, then they just explode.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, it was
the monkey all over again. Just for those couple of scenes, it was the monkey.
It was pretty great. I gotta say, I can't remember her name, the medium Asian girl.
Megan,
right. She has it
such
the
a pointless
worst in this.
Yeah, which made no sense.
It is so, because like I noticed, like she got possessed first. Everything was fine in the beginning. She got thrown up against. She was the one that got thrown up against the wall, I think.
I think so.
Something like that. And that's whatever. Big powerful slasher dude does big powerful swinging attack with a person, or whatever.
Yeah.
But then she gets possessed by the ghost, which makes sense because
she's a medium. And so I kind of figured at that point that each time it was going to focus like on one character.
Right.
And that's not the case. She just gets fucked up every time.
And like she gets her neck snapped, and then they have to go all through the rest of the medium stuff. But then the explosions were the wildest. Everyone just has a quick. I mean, you know what's happening.
And it comes
after
from
the
their
first guy.
core. Like, it comes from their insides, which makes sense. I mean, it doesn't, but it makes sense.
It's really only the first guy that, like, truly, like, pukes up and suffers for a little while because we don't know the explosion's happening yet, and then afterwards they can get into it. But no, just her. It starts with her leg.
Why?
Then
She gets pregnant?
it's realistically her womb. just blows out as she rolls over, and she's still alive after that.
Yeah, has to blow up even more.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
So crazy.
They give it to her the worst. And then she's gone for a big part of the ending of the movie. I really thought she had already turned. Like they were saying, maybe the night got to her already. We're talking on day 13. She's just not around.
Everybody else was pretty much even after that.
Yeah, it's just
They
normal
all
explosions.
They would all occasionally have something particularly grotesque, but it was just her. She got fucked up the most.
Yeah.
They're going through all these different genres, and then they get to found footage horror, which is the most interesting in the movie. But why it's interesting was they went, every cool idea we have that we don't have a place for, and it's just like, and most of it's in the trailer already with the cheek thing,
Yeah.
and I was just like, I completely forgot about that until it pops up. I'm like, oh, is this gonna go anywhere? Nope. Okay, cool.
Because I remember that was in the trailer multiple
Yeah.
times, but I guess we already know they're going to die, so we just don't
Yeah.
need to see it.
Yeah.
But that was where after like the explosion day, that's where all the variety was.
Yeah, and there was some cool stuff in there, but like I said, it doesn't go anywhere. And then there's plot holes created by it because you see in one of them, there's a zombie that they've got the pickaxe, and they are repeatedly hitting it in the brain going, why won't it die?
Yeah.
And so you go, oh, so these zombies don't die even when you take their brains out. Except for that the girl, the sister zombie, dies when she gets stabbed through the stomach.
Maybe she's just stuck there forever.
What, she just fell asleep? Yeah, she was sleepy. And it held the shot on her so long that I thought she was going to wake up. I guess it was supposed to be, oh, sad, we're leaving her.
I also thought she was going to wake up too.
Yeah.
Like, maybe be stuck there forever, but like
Yeah.
be alive and trying to. But no.
Yeah, these zombies didn't make any sense. I mean, nothing did, but. And then I also loved in the found footage section, Megan, again, that when they're finding out what happened to her, where she went, she is filming the evil scientist guy, and he goes through the hallway that they, the MacGuffin that's been sitting there the whole time that they refuse to acknowledge, and they're like, oh, shit, yeah, maybe we should go through that. But anyway, she then flips the camera to herself and goes like, I'm gonna follow him. I'm gonna find out what's going on. And it cuts to them watching, and they're like, oh. And then when it cuts back to her, the camera's angled up on a tripod from 8 feet in the air. And I'm like, what the fuck? Who's holding the phone now? Where'd she put that? It's like security cam footage almost, but it's from the phone because that's the only source of this information we're getting. I'm like, what the fuck is any of that? And then also they do this gimmick thing because they are apparently embarrassed by their special effects and are constantly trying to hide it, with the zombies especially. But they do this thing where the footage is corrupted on the zombies so you can't see them as well, and it's like, what has that ever happened to anybody's phone ever? I've never had my videos look like that.
Honestly, I thought that was gonna. I gave it a little too much credit for a second and thought that was gonna turn into something like,
No.
oh, there's some paranormal effect around here, something like the big reveal mystery.
So dumb.
Yeah, it's just not good enough.
The final genre they did was M. Night Shyamalan, and it was astoundingly bad because they've been given little pieces of information as they go. It's like, you have to make it out, or you have to survive the night, or you become part of the night. That's which the whole point, I thought, that you have a medium is to be the exposition dumper. And so you're like, okay, it's rough, but I get why, because she's like, there's an evil presence here, yada, yada, yada. So it's like, okay, so she's going to be the one to explain all the bullshit they have to do. No, she doesn't give any of the exposition after that. We get it from random witch lady, whoever the fuck that was.
She had her one scene being creepy, up in the air.
Barely.
putting up, saying all these
Megan
voices.
did. I thought you
Megan.
meant the witch. The witch was awful.
No.
The witch was creepiest when she was sitting there doing nothing. Once she got up, I was like, and I'm not scared at all.
Just a smile, sleep, whatever she's saying.
Yeah, and then she just decays and.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought there was gonna be like I thought there was gonna be like a doll maker or something. It was like carving off your face.
Yeah. What was with all the mannequins and the masks?
It was kind of creepy.
It was,
environment, and then it just went nowhere.
Yeah, it was just a witch sitting there watching TV.
Like I thought she was gonna be the decoy, and then there's someone else in the room. Like
Yeah.
it kind of. I don't know. I kind of got like, not. I know in Psycho the mom's dead and all, but I kind of got like Psycho vibes. Like maybe like the mother's just being kept alive by the son who's being evil, and then it just went nowhere. Just we gotta move on to the next day.
Yeah,
she's gonna die.
But so she info dumps, but then also the bad guy himself loves to give information because he's such a helpful guy, and so at a certain point to avoid the boring strategy of just locking themselves in the bathroom a second time and not drinking any water and making it through the whole night, he goes like, "You idiots, you didn't almost make it like you thought. You can't just survive by not moving." I was like, so what do we have to do? And he's like, "I'm not gonna tell you." And so that was like, what? And then later he says some dumb thing about like, well, you know, if you all want to get out, you can sacrifice one of you. Like, one of you can die so the rest of you live. And then you're like, okay, but we're not going to do that. And then she goes, oh, well, we're not going to run away from things. We're going to run at things. And it's like, that's not what he said to do, but okay. And then it works for some reason.
Hey.
And they go through this labyrinth, and eventually she finds his office. And you see that everything is like a conspiracy. And it's like the music's playing like, oh, plot twist, plot twist, plot twist. He's a doctor. He has files on you, and he's watching you. And she's like, oh. And so I'm sitting there going like, oh, is this whole thing in her head?
That would have been interesting for a second.
It would have been shitty, but at least it would have been a plot twist. The reality is the plot twist was something we already knew. For the most part. They add a small change to it, but it's like the plot twist is he's an evil doctor that is torturing you people.
Yep.
Ooh, we literally already knew this for like an hour at this point. And then the little thing, the little sprinkle, the little spice he adds to it is the monsters are somehow related to your inner psyche. Like, you project the monsters, you create them.
But just the main girl. It seems like one person.
Yeah, there's
that
like a
gets
main
trapped
character.
The monsters are related to them in some fashion. Their trauma and their past and their etc. And so it's just yeah.
And then for whatever reason, water in this world blows you up, as we mentioned.
They explain that.
Yeah, it's her self-destructive tendencies.
Yes.
Yeah. But so, if I knew that was a thing, and he was aware of it because he said that's rare, so it's happened before. It's not the first time. So it's happened before, and he's aware of this. I would just always avoid water if I was him.
He watched it happen to them at least 5-6 times.
Yeah. And so there's a leaking pipe in his office, which if I'm him, I'm fucking fixing that because water's terrifying to me now.
And if I were him, I wouldn't put my coffee cup full of coffee.
And it wasn't near anything.
It's not directly right next to it.
Yeah. I'm also, fuck that. I'm not drinking coffee. I'm not drinking anything. I'm avoiding all liquid while at work, okay?
Yeah, wait, that is a good question. Did he
How did he make the coffee? He must have made that at home and brought it to work. Makes sense.
He got a case of Dasani in the corner.
It's good. You gotta at least save money. Make the coffee at home. I respect that. But yeah, it's just abysmally stupid. And she's like a cat. She just smack the cup and smack it back, and then comes over, glug, 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 and then gargle, gargle. I'm attack you, blow up. And it's so lame. Speaking of drinking water and blowing up, by the way, they've determined if any one of them dies, we should all kill ourselves because we don't want to survive without them.
Right.
So at a certain point, Megan dies. I think it's Megan dies. And they don't know about the other characters. They have died, but they don't know that yet. But they're like, well, she died, so we should kill ourselves. So ex-boyfriend stabs her in the neck. And then instead of stabbing himself in the neck, he decides to drink some water when he sees the zombie girl. And he's like, I'm going to drink some water and I'm going to run at her. And so he drinks some water and he goes, hey, and then blows up. He didn't blow her up. He didn't even touch her. He just went, hey, and blew up. Like, haha, you can't get me. And I was like, what?
It was so great. Because I also
thought he was going to bear hug her.
Yeah, just
and then
run
they'd
up,
both
jump,
blow
bear
up.
hug. And then that would have been him taking out the sister for her.
Yeah.
But
It's just, which wouldn't have worked for the plot, but at least it would have made sense. Speaking of things not making sense, she says to the bad guy, I want to meet you face to face. And he goes, that can be arranged. And she goes, all right, where? And he goes, I'm in the woods. Total lie, which I don't know why he lied, because at multiple other points they talked face to face, so I don't know why he was just bullshitting. Or maybe he was in the woods, but they just didn't cross paths. I don't know. But anyway, she's, having fun in the woods, steps in a bear trap, and then falls to the ground, tries to open it, realizes there's a chain attached to it, and then the chain begins pulling her into this dark pit. And she's like, oh no, and screams as she's tugged into it. We cut away. We come back to her. She has crawled out of said pit. She is out of the shadows, and then ex-boyfriend comes along to help her. I'm like, what the fuck? Did we film alternate versions of the scene of this movie and then forget which one we were doing and edit together the wrong clips? Because that made no sense. Because then the zombie comes out of the shadows and attacks them. But why did the zombie's like, oh shit, I'm getting a phone call. Hold, please. Yeah? Oh, they did what? Oh, sorry, my lunch is getting late. Click. What the fuck are we doing?
Well, listen. It's very clear, right?
Is it?
Her in the bear trap and being dragged in, that was her feelings of being trapped in her environments and, being trapped by the people around her. And then as she was being dragged in, she had a breakthrough with herself, right? Kind of fixed all that real quickly and then just kind of worked her way back out. It's all tied to her psyche. So if she just feels better, then I'm sure it just goes away.
What is zombies? How do zombies attach to your psyche? And why do certain monsters that, since this is all her psyche, she never sees some of them, though? Like that giant cartoon in the woods that looked like the fucking Iron Giant or some shit from Creepypasta.
I want to know more about that one.
That was so laughably bad.
It was so great.
Because up until that point, I was like, not like, I didn't love the movie. I could tell this is dumb but entertaining. Yeah. But I'm entertained. And then they're like, all right, let's just leave. So boyfriend, girlfriend jump in the car. They're driving through the rain. I'm like, what's that? And then the Iron Giant goes, Wee! And they're like, ah! And I'm like, what? And then they don't even get killed by that. It's the freaking slasher guy comes back and kills them. Whenever there's like a monster or something that they don't feel like finishing the plot with, he comes to finish up for them.
Except for one time, they let the doctor show up to try to check some things.
Yeah.
Just one time.
Yeah.
This slasher was not seemingly a zombie.
He was kind of a zombie. His face was all like...
Yeah.
So maybe he was just deformed. He didn't really act like a zombie. Like the others, they're not like, humanoid acting zombies. They're like full-on like... kind of zombies. So, and they have no peripheral vision, as we decided. So, because like she's hiding behind this wall. The guy is past the wall. And he's like... And she's right here, and he's like refusing to just look right there. He's just oblivious as hell.
Oh. You see, like all great monsters and horror movies, they have a flair for the dramatic. They miss things on purpose, They give us some tension at home.
She's walking through that hallway, and there's like a flashing red stoplight.
Right.
She has a flashlight, though. She could still see perfectly fine when that light's not flashing, but we can't see anything. And like her flashlight sucks. And then she goes to hide, and thankfully she covers the flashlight, which is good for her, because earlier in the movie, when they're in the woods and they hear a noise, they duck behind the tree, flashing the flashlight around as they're ducking behind the tree. I'm like, you morons. Not only is a zombie above you in the tree, which they find out later, but it's like, if you are hiding... Your flashlight is a dead giveaway, dude.
See, I get what you're saying, but that's the difference between night 1 and night 13, man. We've both seen Edge of Tomorrow, I presume.
So, as we mentioned, the main antagonist of this film, besides the evil doctor, kind of becomes zombies. Sure, the guy that's lasted the most is the serial killer slasher guy, but the zombies are the most frequent. I have two things about them, actually, I just thought of. So, firstly, they start to seemingly add some lore about these kind of zombies because they're walking, and when they see who we thought was Megan but was actually the sister, they go, "Don't move," even though they are once again flashing their flashlight all around, and just like, and they're like, "Don't move," and then she screeches and runs away, and it's like, are we trying to say zombies are T-Rexes? Like, they can only see you if you move? Because I've never heard that before.
Listen, it's kind of dark out at night right now.
They're inside.
It's kind of dark out inside. They don't have great indoor vision.
Then we get the dumb jump scare. But anyway, as I'm saying, zombies have become the main antagonist at this point.
Yeah.
We have two groups now because the groups have divided up into Megan and the main character and then the other three.
I will say that's the one consistent thing throughout this movie. Splitting up.
Yes. And so the other three, we don't see what happens to them, but they end up by the car. They're outside. The other two are trying to get away from these zombies, and then there's a ladder, and then you realize, oh, the ladder leads up to where that grave marker is. So they stick their hands out of the grave, and they're trying to climb out. They pull back in. But then they're reaching out again, and then their friends immediately run over and grab them and pull them out. If I've been being chased by zombies all day, every day, for weeks, and then I see hands, dirty, clawing hands burst out of the ground, I'm not going, oh, they need my help. I'm going, ah! And running away.
Especially when you know this is your last night. Yeah. You die, it's permanent here.
Like, they had so much faith that whoever comes out of that grave must be a good person. Like, why? Why did they do that? That made no sense.
I know we spoke about the death of the doctor, but did we speak about how his death fulfilled the condition of one person that came with you needs to die? He's not part of the group, and he's already established that all the monsters are based off the main girl's subconscious. You'd think at the very least the thing would be limited to her group, but no. Any human that dies,
they're not just their subconscious, but they're also the other people that didn't make it out of there.
Yeah,
I think.
No, it's like certain things are her subconscious, and then the zombies outside of her sister. Well, no, I guess her sister's just one of the people who didn't make it. Yeah. So all the zombies are just people who didn't make it. All the rest are all the other death ways are subconscious somehow, tied to it, I guess. But
don't ask questions. There aren't any answers. And then he dies, and then that fulfills
the one of you has to die for the rest of you to go.
Dumb.
Yeah.
Also, if that's the case, and it's not like a willful giving up, sacrificing of yourself, then literally every other time somebody died first, they all should have been able to leave. But they couldn't.
Well, that's the thing. Like,
I guess they didn't go through the long, dark hallway.
Yeah, they didn't try to escape well enough. And the one time the two of them would have made, or potentially could have made it out,
they chose not to.
They just chose to lay down and die.
Yeah, relatable. Yeah, but anyway, so then he dies, but then a video pops up of him laughing at a winter location, which I have to assume is reference to the actual story at the ski lodge, or whatever it was, I don't remember.
Movie 2.
And it's just like, so now he's not actually dead?
No, the next one's just a series of videos he made. Just play games. You want to play a game?
Speaking of random videos, they're like, oh, we've got a VHS tape, puts it in, it's porn.
Yeah, it was great.
What the fuck? In a better movie, that would have been hilarious. In this movie, I just rolled my eyes. But in a better movie, that would have been great. Because, like, if there's actual intense, like, anxiety-inducing moments, and I was like, oh, what's this gonna be? Can't wait to solve the mystery, and then it's just porn, I would have lost it. But in this, there was no intensity. I was just like, ugh.
Because it was, like, right at the beginning of them trying to investigate instead of just running away and dying.
Yeah.
The very first thing they try, porn.
Yeah. Oh, it's not a good movie.
No, not.
It's really not.
Not at all.
And it just doesn't explain anything.
And all the people, gosh, like boyfriend and girlfriend, I didn't really love them.
No, and
girl,
they're not going to stay
didn't
together
love
much
them.
longer by the looks of it.
She doesn't stay with anybody more than
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
You know, it's time. They clearly killed the doctor, and then the ending of the movie clearly makes it seem like this hasn't ended anything.
Yeah.
But like they went there to find out about the sister. They did find out about the sister. They see Sister Zombie. And they just say, you know what, this is too much. Good luck. Hopefully you just died there. If not, sucks.
Yeah. She is trapped there forever. And it's
Sucks.
like, if, you know, in a movie we just watched recently, they make a whole point about, like, to then be killed is a blessing because
Yeah.
it releases you. If they had said something like that, then I could be like, okay, we accomplished something. We released her from this eternity of damnation in this random house. No, they don't say that. So, one, we don't really know that she's truly dead because the dude didn't stay dead. He's laughing over in Wintertown.
Yeah.
And two, even if she did die, that may not have changed anything for her experience.
And I really thought it was going to, because it was the second day when the medium gets possessed, and all of there's this wall of the missing posters of the victims, and there are like no details besides the faces
Bingo.
and the word missing, and they just appear as people start the house. And when she's getting possessed by them,
Well, they have to die once, and then they appear.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, once they die once, they appear on this missing wall, and she's standing in front of the wall, completely possessed, and she's just pointing to various people
That was
getting possessed by their
Actually,
spirits.
a really good moment.
And a few of them are like, just kill me, save me, I don't want to be here anymore. A couple of them are like, we all deserve this and such, but I thought that might go somewhere a bit more. And the zombies showed up, I guess,
What?
but
You wanted plot? We don't do that here.
because that would have made sense, like with Melanie. No, you gotta save the sister. Because I know she had a line, I'm pretty sure. I just don't remember what her line was in that wall of faces.
I don't know. And I pointed out to you, it was great. He's like pulling off all these other flyers that are in front of the thing, and then he leaves the last one, and there's a bingo card on it. And I'm like, oh my god, the sister bingo. That's hilarious. All right, we got anything else to say about this shit? I think we're done. There's probably more you could say, but why bother? They didn't fucking tell us anything, so why should we tell you anything? You don't deserve to know. We don't deserve to know. Fuck you. Goodbye. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, follow, review, rate. It all does help. Bye.
Bye.